Lexington is famous for Civil War history, but it's writing a new chapter for a new war thousands of miles away. This chapter began
on April the 11th, 2022. I received a call from my dear friend, the owner and publisher of the News Gazette, asking if I would be willing to get involved in bringing Ukrainians to America.
A friend of mine, Jerry Ney, was really instrumental in beginning the organization. We were working kind of on a pattern that we followed a few years ago, and we hosted some Congolese. So this is very different because these families, of course, come from a war-torn area. They're, in a hurry to keep their families safe.
Public awareness is what is the driving force. And so the next step I took was to call a couple of people that were my helpers with the Congolese, and they all said yes.
I got involved with Jerry initially, sort of as a co with him, and then but I took on the responsibility of one sponsor circle. So each family has a sponsor circle, and this is under a government program for hosting Ukrainian families.
Through music, Brown developed a particularly special relationship with one of the Ukrainian children who came here through hosting Ukrainian families, Ney's support organization.
I've been really privileged to work a little more closely with Lilia, who is a piano player. I'm a musician, so it was really important to me to figure out, are any of these kids missing their music lessons? The first piece I heard Lilia play was at the December recital, but as it turned out, she played this Ukrainian bell.
Lilia recently performed at Kindle in Lexington, a retirement community. Her family also spoke there about their experiences leaving Ukraine.
24 лютого о 4 годині ранку ми почули вибухи. І одного вечора, коли ми вечеряли всі разом з сім'єю, це була 8 година вечора, і над нашою хатою збили ракету. Але ми знайшли спонсорів, Кет і Кевін, нам заплатили дорогу.
A translator assisted the family during their speech. Washington and Lee history professor Richard Bidlack tutors some Ukrainians in English, helping to bridge the language barrier.
They came here with no English, no money, no jobs, no house. To see them come along with their knowledge in English is very heartening. They're not technically refugees. They're here temporarily, as it's figured now, for up to 2 years. But they are to go home. They're not eligible for permanent residency. So they're really kind of stuck between two worlds. And that's what makes it difficult in terms of, say, learning English. How much effort do you put into that? Because it's not envisioned that they're going to stay here.
It is unclear when the families will be able to return home. We do know, though, that the families
are moving. One family is Rima's family is moving to Pennsylvania. The other family is moving to Harrisonburg, where there is a large Ukrainian assembly of people. And the third family intends also to move to Harrisonburg. And there is a Ukrainian Pentecostal church in Harrisonburg, and that's very important. So they go up virtually every Sunday to church. We consider that to be a measure of success, that they feel brave enough, secure enough to make that change. And we are obviously going to miss them terribly.
Rima and I had an exchange about 2 weeks ago. Just, it was sort of when it was sort of clear that they actually were leaving. They had a house. They knew where they were going. And we just had this very sweet exchange of, we're going to miss you, and oh, we're going to miss you so much. You have to come to Pennsylvania, But I realized in that exchange, oh my gosh, I'm really going to miss these folks, I'll cry thinking about it.
But Ukrainian people and culture will remain in Lexington.
My family moved to the U.S. from Ukraine in 1991. So most people from my part of Ukraine, which was in the south, the city of Odessa, they spoke Russian down there for the most part, at least in the Soviet period especially. You know, I did continue to speak Russian and even studied it in college. And a lot of people speak it, but at the same time, the reason they speak it is because there's a history of colonization, first by the Russian Empire and then by the Soviet Union, and they basically forced the population to speak Russian instead of Ukrainian. So then I started trying to learn a little bit of Ukrainian.
When the war started, I swear I did not pressure him, and I tell his mom this too, but he's now learning Ukrainian, and that's like a lot of people are that I've heard. Like the war has in some sense changed that.
Conversations with my wife and kind of opens up a different way of viewing the intersection of Russian and Ukrainian culture, or imperial Russian or Soviet culture.
I was actually born in Western Ukraine, so the Ukrainian national identity was much more developed there.
Natalie moved to the Chicago suburbs in 1993.
Chicago was great because it has one of the largest Ukrainian diasporas outside of Ukraine. So I spent Fridays doing Ukrainian dancing lessons, and Saturday through 11th grade I had Ukrainian school every Saturday during the school year. And then Sundays was Ukrainian church. When I met my husband, we bonded over talking about sausages. And I couldn't find, I was going to grad school in Columbus, Ohio, and I just couldn't find all the Ukrainian food that I had really easy access to in Chicago. And so he gave me the in, and I'm like, this is the man. He knows my heart.
And Dr. Anna Bilius followed her heart from Ukraine to Virginia.
When I came into this country, there was no one else and nothing else that I would know other than my husband and the piano. I realized that that was the old friend from my previous lives.
Like Lilia, Bilius took her love of music to the U.S. with her.
Rebuilt my relationship with music, where now it was my choice, now it was my decision to go into music and truly to dwell in the beauty, because music is nothing but beauty. It is the yoga time, it is the time for healing.
Bilius said her parents forced her to play the piano growing up. In the U.S., it was her choice to pursue music. She acknowledged other cultural differences too.
Junk food, for example, something that we try to bring to the minimum in our household. The Russian and Ukrainian culture always presuppose the mother of the family or the wife of the family to be cooking everything from scratch.
Bilius frequently travels to Russia and Ukraine to show her children the different cultures. She said her children knowing Russian is a priority to her.
I met one lady who had 2 children of the same age. Within 1 year, they completely forgot their language, their heritage, and they barely were able to comprehend Russian language. So that was quite a scary experience for me, and I promised to myself that that will never happen to my children. Every time I hear Russian speech or Ukrainian in the store or just in the park, it immediately brings so much of joy within my heart. It's like, yes, there is one person that I can relate on a different level.
Natalie recognized the Ukrainian culture in Lexington too.
I remember being in 2nd, 3rd grade and having to explain where Ukraine was on a map, like between Russia and Poland, and now in little Lexington, Virginia, rural Virginia. The Presbyterian Church is playing the Ukrainian national anthem.
The war between Russia and Ukraine put Ukraine on the map for many, but it also sparked fear from thousands of miles away.
When the war started, I was shaken. I live in Lexington when I heard about it. I am very safe, very safe. And I walked around for days just shaking with tremors from like the shock of it. And to say it's horrible is, an understatement.
Music heals many wounds, and I wish music right now would have the ability to stop the war. That's all I can say about the current situation. We call it music without boundaries.
There is no doubt that some Ukrainians have found their home in Lexington. Others are waiting to hear when they can return to their homes in Ukraine. But it was their shared cultures that brought them together.